Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are back with something that is not a dinosaur at all. We've got our prehistoric mammal release from Collecta for the year of 2025. We have the giant short-faced bear, and this one is definitely exciting because I think people have been asking for a short-faced bear figure from pretty much anybody for years. Nobody seemed to be making one, but luckily Collecta has come through, as they always do, when it comes to some of the best species possible that they could release, and we've got ourselves a very cool looking figure for this species for sure. So if we bring it in and I knock it over, if we bring it in nice and close and get a look at that head sculpt, you can see the head sculpt looks great. And one thing straight away that might jump out to you is the fact that this figure doesn't have purely black eyes. Something Collecta is known for pretty much would be the black eyes on their figures. However, this one actually has like an orangish brown sort of tone in there, and then the black for the pupil and a nice gloss coat. So it's nice to see a little variation as far as the color of the eye for this one. We also have some very nice paintwork and coloration for the face, as we have kind of like an orangish brown that shows up pretty sporadically here through the face. Primarily we have like a grayish tone for the body color, and then you have this nice white that kind of runs through the face and up and over the top of the head. But there's also this very cool kind of like orangish brown tone that's been added here and there in the face of the figure, which looks really nice. We also have a different variation of brown kind of following along the mouth, which looks pretty cool as well. Again, quite a bit of variation of color here right in this spot in the face of our bear. I think it looks really, really good when it comes to the way that this one has been painted. We obviously can see the nose is sculpted out, and my camera's losing focus on it. It also is painted with a different variation of a gray. Come on, camera, let's focus on that nose. There we go. You can now see the nose of our bear. And then we move down, and again, the mouth is open. The bear is actually standing on its hind limbs, so it definitely looks like maybe something has just approached it that it's not happy about, and it's just kind of reared up to definitely put on some sort of a very mean display and make sure that it knows not to come any closer. And we can very clearly see that the mouth is open, again kind of furthering that look. We've got the teeth sculpted out pretty nicely, all painted there together, kind of painted with like an off-white sort of a tone. And then you can also see the teeth on the lower jaw as well, sculpted and painted pretty nicely. We can also see the tongue in there, painted with a pinkish tone, but again, kind of there. Let's focus. There we go. Now you can see the tongue kind of shining in there quite nicely. And we have a pinkish tone basically for the entire inside of the mouth, or maybe even a purplish tone. It's hard to get in there because the shadows, it definitely looks more like a purple actually, but the shadows are so impressive in that area. But right there we can actually see, as you move back into the mouth, the teeth further back into the mouth are actually sculpted and painted in there as well. So that really shows you that, again, this one, same deal for the lower jaw if my camera decides to focus anytime soon. There we go. We can see the teeth there. As you move further back onto the inside of the mouth are also again sculpted and painted in there. So very impressive, very small details that Collecta made sure that they did not leave out. As you move back through the course of the face of the bear, though, we can see again the fur detail is sculpted pretty nicely. We've got the ears up here on the top of the head, fairly fine fur detail here in the face of our bear. As we turn around to the back, though, we can see the fur start to pick up, definitely becoming scruffier and thicker and more intense as we move through the course of the neck. We do still have like that grayish tone, but also a dry brushing, which I think the dry brushing is kind of like that orangish brown that we see pretty impressively up here in the head. And then they've used that tone to kind of highlight all of the fur detail as we move through. I don't know how good it's picking up on camera, but in person you can really take notice to it. They've done a great job of making sure to highlight all of the fur detail. As we move down, we can see again, as we already mentioned, that our bear is kind of standing bipedally currently, and this leg is up in the air, obviously continuing to put on that defensive display. But as we move down, we can see again some variation to the grays, as well as some more of that brownish dry brushing. And then we lead to the opposing side. We've got the underside of the foot, where we can see the pads and everything are also nicely painted with some variations of grays, very nicely sculpted and even textured. We can also take note to the nails, which are also painted with a gray that my camera refuses to focus on. There we go. We can see the nails again painted with a gray. Then on the opposing side, the other leg here is basically kind of down a little bit more at ease compared to the one that we see on the right-hand side, but the same type of very impressive fur detail leading down through the course of the leg. And again, the foot looking really nice as far as the pads and everything on the underside, and of course the claws again that we have that aren't quite as on display as what we see on the right hand side. But as you move down into the throat of the bear, we've got a little variation of yellow actually that shows up there within the white tones, and I really love the way they painted this, where you can actually see like some of the white fur kind of leading out as you move down. Like it's not just a very straight kind of awkward and unrealistic transition. It's very natural, I think, and actually looks great the way that they have painted this out. Leading down through the underbelly of our bear, we do see more variation to the fur. We can see quite a bit of very impressive fur detail throughout, and again more of that dry brushing with that brownish tone down here. We also have a little bit of a belly here for the bear, so he's fairly well fed overall. As we turn around to the back of the animal, we can see the fur looking absolutely excellent the entire way through, especially right here in the back. We can see actually, first of all, a little darker coloration that's been added, so obviously showing you that they have added variation to the grays. But we can also take note to the fact that the fur is very impressive, kind of thick in that area, and there's a lot of waviness to the fur, which looks really cool, and I think just adds a nice dose of realism overall to the figure. As you move down, you can see a small tail sticking off of the back of the bear, and we also lead down through the sides of the legs. The legs definitely look very muscular. We've got the knee right there shining, and then we move down into the foot. The foot, of course, is covered in fur, again with the grayish fur with the light brown, like orangish brown dry brushing, and we've got the nails again right there, again painted with that darker variation of a gray. And if we move to the undersides of the feet, we can see that we also have the pads down here sculpted and again painted with the same gray that we saw up there on the first few feet we had taken a look at. But obviously this bear is currently kind of taking a little bit of a step forward, as this leg is just slightly more forward than we see on the opposing leg right there. We can also see some darker variation of grays, actually maybe even close to a black right here in the groin area of the bear as well. But overall, that is an absolutely gorgeous figure, and maybe one of the nicest painted figures from Collecta for this year. As far as a size goes, the most we're really going to need would be a height, because that's where the majority of the size is for this one. You are looking at about 6 3/4 inches, roughly, maybe slightly under, or around 17 centimeters, maybe a hair over for a size comparison. There is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, Robert Muldoon, the Collecta human being next to our short-faced bear from Collecta, and we can very clearly see that this one definitely has an impressive size to it, and as far as height goes, it is absolutely the tallest figure that we have this year. From Collecta, definitely a very, very impressive size. And of course, one downside to this being the very first time that I've had the pleasure of adding this species to my collection means that there aren't really all that many figures out for it. And in fact, I don't know of any that are out for this species, so I don't have any other figures that I can compare with this, and I also don't really have any other bear figures. I think I might have one or two somewhere, like, modern bears, but I don't really have any prehistoric bears that I can recall, so sadly I don't really have anything that I can compare with this one as far as different bear figures go, so we'll just go ahead and bring in a whole bunch of randoms. So obviously we have the Schleich Diabloceratops and Collecta Deluxe Dimetrodon here. We also have a Mattel Velociraptor and Dilophosaurus. Now, you would think I'd be bringing in some prehistoric mammals, but even when it comes to prehistoric mammals, I can't think of anything off the top of my head that would really compare well with this figure. So again, we'll just continue on with random dinosaurs. Here we've got some feathered friends, as we have the Microraptor and Gigantoraptor next to our bear. We also have the smaller, kind of older release of the T-Rex from Collecta, the kind of Jurassic Park style version, which is very clearly a lot shorter, but actually kind of similar in body mass. as well as the larger feathered T-Rex, which I've been bringing in for comparisons pretty much the entire time through these reviews. And just in case you did want to see a few mammal comparisons, we have the TNG Mammoth and TNG Smilodon, which are clearly a bit smaller. We've got the Mojo Fun Woolly Mammoth, which again is also shorter. The Collecta Daeodon, also of course significantly smaller. The older version of the Collecta Paraceratherium, which is actually fairly close to the size of our bear. And finally, the Eofauna Dinotherium, which again also cannot compete with this bear when it comes to its height. So this brand new Collecta 2025 giant short-faced bear figure is really nicely done. And again, I think I stated in the very first review of these figures of the Collecta 2025 lineup that this year's lineup honestly is a lot better looking in hand than I expected them to be. Not that I ever expect anything bad from Collecta, but I feel like the original prototype images did not show off nearly how nice these figures really are. It's not until you get a chance to see them in hand where you can really appreciate how gorgeous these figures are overall, and I feel like this bear is another perfect example of that. Sculpt-wise, it is really well done, sports tons of very impressive fine detail to the fur and everything throughout the course of the body, and even more impressive detailing again on the inside of the mouth when it comes to even having the teeth further back into the mouth where you really have a hard time even getting in there to see them, but they're actually sculpted out and painted quite nicely. So overall, I think they've done a great job on the fine detail. I also really love the pose of this one because it's perfect for a display piece. It's perfect for a diorama. Like, there's just so much you could do when it comes to showing this one off. And again, when it comes to displaying it with the kind of upright stance that it has, very threatening look overall. Definitely the type of bear that I would head very, very far away from, especially if it looked like it is currently. But I think the pose is really well done, and the paint apps are gorgeous on this. There's a lot of variation of color as you move through the course of the body, where you have like yellowish browns, orangish browns, different shades of grays. You also have kind of like whites and off-whites and stuff, like lots of color on this one, which is surprising considering, again, it's a bear. You wouldn't expect it to have so much color, but it actually does, but looks super, super impressive and very natural. So they've done an excellent job on the actual application of the paint and the, again, paint scheme that they've come up with for this. So overall, this is an excellent release yet again from Collecta. I feel like they are really killing it this year with their figures, and definitely another figure that I highly recommend picking up. So if you are interested, of course, make sure you are following Everything Dinosaur, Happy Hen Toys, DeJenkins.com, Minizoo, all of the places that you know that stock Collecta. It should be coming into stock at some point in the near future, so once it does, definitely pick it up, and of course, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.